Hey, what's up, everybody? Listen, if you have not heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. Number one, it's free. Yeah, I got your attention now, right? Number two, there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Number three, Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. Number four, you can make money from your podcast. That's right. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum viewership. Number five, it's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So right now, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. What's up, everybody? You are listening to the What Now podcast, where we discuss ways of effectively addressing life's most difficult moments. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the What Now podcast. That's right, the What Now podcast, where we discuss positive ways of facing life's most difficult moments. Now, put your quotation marks around that word difficult. Matter of fact, scratch all that. Scratch that word out, erase it, white it out, do whatever you have to do, and let's substitute that word with defining, or let's replace that word with defining. So we have conversations about effective ways of facing life's most defining moments. And we understand that we call or classify these moments as defining moments now. Why? Because we have the right, the authority, and the responsibility to define those moments in our lives and not allow those moments to define us. All right. So listen, you're listening today, you're listening tonight. Whenever you're listening, I appreciate you listening. I love each and every one of you. I value your thoughts and opinions. That's why I always open it up for your feedback. You know, you can reach out to me at info@cliftonpattyjohn.com. All right. But for the last few months, the only voice that you have heard on this podcast is mine. Why? Because on Transformation Radio, where we transform lives through purposeful conversations, regardless of how uncomfortable and unpopular those conversations are, you know, I invite guests on a continuous basis to share their transformative story. But what I've decided to do is I want to open up this platform to individuals as well who have what now stories. They've had these defining moments. They're facing these defining moments, and they want to share their stories with each and every one of you and maybe share some tools, techniques, and strategies that they've applied that you may be able to apply to your own life. So tonight we start where you don't just hear from me. And I know you guys enjoy my voice. Hey, I love my voice as well. But you're also going to hear from other people. All right. So sit back, relax, and enjoy tonight's interview. Growing up in Taos, Missouri, Jason was raised in a small town with a loving family that gave him every chance to succeed. His parents were supportive and provided everything this 17-year-old could ever want. This is until his life changed forever on May 8th, 2003, when his dad unexpectedly passed away by suicide, leaving him, his mother, and two younger sisters behind. Through hard work, dedication, and a strong faith in God, he is now a certified teacher and thought coach, an accomplished basketball coach, and elite skills trainer, Amazon best-selling author, and transformational storyteller and speaker. Help me welcome to the show, Jason Holzer. Hey, Jason, how are you today?
Hey, how's it going, Cliff? Thanks for having me on the show, man.
Going well. I mean, well, tonight we're recording tonight. I said today. However, I want to thank you for, as I said, being our inaugural guest. This is the first time we've done this, and I believe it's going to be awesome.
Man, I'm honored and I'm privileged to be your first guest on the show. And you know, doing a little background on you, I can see your podcast is really gonna take off and help out a lot of people. So to be the first one feels pretty special, to be honest.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Now, I like to start well, I look at interviews as conversations because I believe people's lives are impacted most by unscripted conversations. I believe get a lot that they can take away from that. So I always like to start with an icebreaker question. On my radio show, I use if you could have one superpower, what would it be and why? Here, I kind of want to mix it up a little bit. With everything that's going on in the world, I want to ask you if you could change one thing instantly about our world, what would it be and why?
The media.
Mm,
And the reason why I say that is because the media programs people so negatively. It gets people so anxious. And we don't hear about the positive stories. I mean, not enough at least. It's too much about ratings, and the media knows that negativity attracts ratings. I just feel like if we could flip that and tell more positive stories, and stories of hope, stories of things that lift people up, that would be the one thing I would change if I could. Yeah.
I totally agree with you there because I've said it before, you can take any narrative and twist it, change it, pretty it up, doctor it up, do whatever twist, however you want to twist it, and it changes the complete focus of the story. And I see that a lot with the media, especially in the times that we're facing on today. Now, let's take that and relate that to your personal life. What are some things that, if seen, would appear to be detrimental, but have turned out to be some of the greatest moments of your life as it related to purpose?
Yeah, whenever I was 17, I lost my dad to suicide. And I've learned, and that was I'm 30. I just turned 35, so I've almost lived long as I had my dad as now I have that not. And to see where my life is now, the things that I'm involved in now, the people that have come into my life now compared to where I was at 17, I am just filled with gratitude. Um, so I could be in a lot of different places right now, honestly. And I could have taken a lot of different routes, but I'm a man of faith, and I believe that God put people in my life at the perfect time when I needed them to keep me, because I believe He has a purpose for what I'm supposed to do. And so, I may have lost my dad to suicide, but I didn't lose my joy. I didn't lose my passion for giving to others and helping other people out. So now I'm just taking my story and trying to flip it to a positive to help as many people as possible.
Now, you just talked about not losing your joy. How did you not, like, through all of that, how did you remain focused? I heard you talk about God putting people in your life during set times of your life, but how do you, even now, I hear a lot of people that talk about losing a loved one for whatever reason or experience they've lost them. I know about 13 years ago my mother passed away, and that was a very rough time of my life. And still sometimes it's kind of rough. So how do you remain focused and not lose your joy, having experienced that?
Yeah, and I think joy is different than happiness. You can be joyful, but you can still be sad. And I think the one thing that I learned is that you have to allow yourself to understand what the purpose of your emotions are. And some days when you're sad, that's fine. That's okay. That doesn't mean you're you know going to lose your joy. You might not have your happiness that day, but your joy is something that within that, and it's almost like positive optimism. It's, it's going to get better, even though today might be a tough day. You just, and that's where faith comes in. And that's, where I think, God over and over again proves himself that, what, I can't promise you that every day is going to be a walk in the park, but I can
Right.
promise you if you trust me, things will get better.
Now, awesome. So that you talked about that experience happening at the age of 17. So I imagine that was right before graduation, right before you were ready to leave for college, other things like that. Now, how did you rate in those moments keep that fire or keep that passion to continue on as far as with life, instantly once that happened?
Yeah, it was right at the end of my junior year, and then
Okay.
so going into my senior year. So yeah, I mean,
Okay.
and then a year later I graduated, right? So my senior year, it was I was fortunate to be around a community of people that was very supportive, and I had a close circle of friends that I could rely on. That even though they didn't understand what I was going through, they were great listeners. They were great people. Their parents were great people, um, and that really helped me out. That really, um, you know, I felt like I could still kind of be me. I mean, there were still tough times. Like sometimes, especially those first couple of days back at school, I felt like everybody was looking at me. I felt like all eyes were on me, even though they probably weren't, but
Hmm.
that just kind of how it felt like integrating back into, you know, my new normal. Cause, you never bounce back. You never bounce back from losing love. But, I would say the people that were around me were my biggest assets, my biggest allies in allowing me to still be myself and still try to figure out the complexities of all the things I was going through internally.
Okay. So now I see that you're an elite basketball coach. I want to talk a little bit sports real quick. You're an elite basketball coach. Did you play sports in high school as well? Or I probably as a child all the way up.
Yeah, yeah. I played high school basketball. I
Okay.
did, and the one thing though that I regret is that I allowed other people, um, other high school kids, to determine my success. I mean, I was worried about what they thought. I was worried about, and so as a 15, 16, 17-year-old, sometimes, man, you're just trying to fit in, And
Right.
unfortunately for me, I limit myself because of that.
Mhm.
And so then when I got into college, I went to a big school, Missouri State, and
Okay.
so I didn't play in college, but after I graduated, I would play pickup a lot. People were like, "Hey, man, where'd you play in college?" And I was like, "I didn't play in college," and that kind of like made me realize like I could have, if I
Right.
would have stuck with it. I had to, not maybe like NAIA level, not like I wasn't going to be a Division 1. I didn't have the size for that, but I could have played, beyond
Right.
that. And so that's another thing that I think about. How could I give it back? And it was coaching and encouraging kids to follow their dreams and not worry so much about the outside noise.
Now you hit something very personal to me because that's how it was with me with baseball as well. I could have went on and played in college. However, the outside noise became so draining to me in high school that I just gave it up. I quit. It was my love, though. It was my passion. And that is one of the things that I encourage young people today as well. Like, focus on what it is that you have been called, created, and designed to do. Focus on what you love and don't allow those outside voices to be so influential. Now, staying right there on that subject, because it's not even just young people that deal with the influence of outside voices. We face that as adults as well. Right now, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Well, I don't know if we're closer to the end. I don't know where exactly we are right now. But what I've been encouraging people to do with a lot of this time is focus on some of those dreams and visions and aspirations that you had, that creative side of you. What is some advice you would give to some individuals now? They have all this time on their hands. They are so gifted and talented, but yet they've just kind of stopped dreaming. It's like, I got to put that to the side because I have to do this and I have to do that. This is expected of me, so I should do that. What would you say to individuals like that? Are you thinking of selling or buying your dream home? Then contact Harrison Damerkin, the People's Agent. As a licensed realtor in both Delaware and Maryland, Harrison desires to help you sell or buy your home, and he promises you that your experience with him will be great. Call or text him today at 302-260-0659 or email him at harrisondamerkant@gmail.com.
I would say the ultimate freedom in life is following what your heart, what you truly desire. And because that, and then when you find that, life just flows. Like, me being on podcasts, me speaking to people, me, I'm actually using my creativity. Me and a colleague are developing a program to teach essential life skills through sports. And it's because something that we believe in. We believe that the power of sports, the power it can have on you if it's done in a way that, teaches essential life skills, after they're done playing. And so I would say, man, like, what better time? Like, if you are just at home or whatever, like, don't feel sorry for yourself. This is the time to maybe follow your dreams, follow your passions. Um, this is maybe a time to explore. Like, you know what? If you got laid off on your job, maybe sometimes life gives you signs that, hey, this wasn't working. This is what you didn't what you want to do anyways. Now go for what you really want to go for.
Absolutely. I totally agree there. Now, you are an educator. So how does an educator become a best-selling author as well? I mean, I know it's possible because you're an educator, but how did you have even the desire to get into writing?
It was so I was actually, on a flight to Ohio, and it's like almost like Eastern Ohio, so more rural, and I was by myself. I was driving to lead a basketball camp actually, and sometimes I like to just have the radio off and it's just silence and just in my own thoughts, and I got the message of right, just that little intuitive voice in your head said right. At first I was like, okay, whatever, but it just kept like a little repeated over the next couple of months, and I told my wife, I was like, I think I'm supposed to write a book. And she was like, do you know how to do that? I'm like, nope, I don't. I don't know how to do it. But I feel like I'm supposed to write a book. And she was like, okay, well, and so I just started typing, quite frankly, um, and it was a process, and it was, sometimes it was late nights, early mornings. Um, but when I got into it and you got into the words just came to me, and a mentor of mine, she just said, you just got to type. You just got to, make yourself do it. It's a discipline that you just got to learn. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just see how it goes. And, I just kept going, and it kept coming. And I used my imagination too. I imagined it being on a bookshelf. And,
See?
and that there, that was like, it kind of kept me going. It made me believe it because I kind of, and then, the title came, and then like like the picture came. I was like, oh, that just resonates with what my message should be. And then, and I wrote it and Cliff, I wrote it with this intention in mind, that if one person read it and they were impacted by it, then it was worth it. If one
Absolutely.
person, you know, and for me, it was the most healing experience I'd ever done because I got out all of those emotions that I held in for so long, just typing it out. And I felt so much freedom, so much relief. And even if nobody read it, just the freedom I felt from sharing my story and typing it out, um, was, was definitely like, a big part of why I wrote it as well.
Awesome. You said so much within that I want to unpack some of that. First thing that stuck out to me, it's one of my trigger words, is you used your imagination. And I feel like sometimes when we become adults, we lose that sense of imagination. Often in my coaching sessions, I make my clients or encourage my clients to close your eyes and go back to second grade. When your teacher asks you, what did you want to be in life? What did you say? And I take them back through a journey of imagination to help them reconnect with their imagination so that they can begin to see things that kind of they wouldn't see because of things they've experienced in life. And you would basically, I looked at it as visualization. I love when we visualize things. Once we visualize it and start to see it, then it makes it easy for us to manifest, easier for it to manifest in our lives. Have you always been a person of imagination and able to see things before they actually manifested in your life?
I think back in a few times, and I'm actually a big baseball fan as well. And I would imagine like a guy getting hit or hitting a home run, and then it would happen. And I was like, whoa, like I
Yeah.
just thought about this in my head. And then I just watched it on TV. A cool example was the 2011 World Series. I'm a big Cardinals fan, and I was like,
Okay.
I don't know how they're going to do this, but I think they're going to win.
Hmm.
And they were down to the last strike like three
Yeah.
times in Game 6,
Yeah.
and it ended up being like went down as like the second greatest World Series game ever. And I was actually at the game.
Oh,
You
wow.
know, and it
Okay.
was but yeah, so there were like little like trinkets of time that would happen in my life where I was like, that just went in my head. That I just imagined that, and then it happened. I was like, so it's kind of like little clues that how powerful your imagination can be. And
Yes.
so, now I start using it all the time about things that I think that resonate with me that can help people, people that I want to meet, people that I want to interact with, or people like that or better. I always say my imagination, um, you know, allow somebody to help me impact the world that could be on a higher platform or better, because I don't
Yeah.
want to close off or, tunnel vision myself. I believe in open mindedness,
I,
allowing, things to come to me that are supposed to at the right time.
I totally agree with that as well. Totally agree. Then the second thing you said, you're saying so much. This is good. The second thing that you said, and this is something I encourage individuals to do as well, is that you just started typing and it just started coming out of you. It just started coming out of you. So many times people never put their finger to the keyboard, pen to the paper, pencil to the paper, however they're writing, because it stays all up in here because I don't know how to publish the book. I don't know how to create my cover. I don't know how to market my book. And it's like, oh, slow down. Let's just write and begin the process. Was that you talked about it being, therapeutic for you? It was like you let all of those emotions out that have been inside of you. But also, as you begin to write and begin to take the steps that you were able to do, did you find yourself being connected with individuals that were able to help you with processes that you may not have understood?
Yeah. I mean, like, what I learned through that is the how is not what you should be focusing on. It's just enjoy the process, and then if you believe that you can do it, then you almost kind of see it as like this is gonna be fun to see how this turns out. And now as I look back, you're like, oh, that's why that person came to mind. Oh, okay. This is and like the pieces just kind of you just kind of put it together as you look back. It's called like the reverse gap. Like you just kind of take a little hindsight. You kind of think back like now I see, and that kind of gives you more faith moving forward because you're not worried about the how. You're just like I'm gonna go do this, and it'll be fun to see how it plays out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, once you wrote your book, you get notified that you are Amazon bestseller. What was your original response to that?
Um, I uh I told my wife first. I was like, I made it. I did it.
Yeah.
And it was actually like about 6 months afterwards. And you know, I got connected with a lady, and she that's what she does. She helps authors become bestsellers. And I was like, I want to be a bestseller. Like whenever I want something, I don't worry about the how. I just like, what do I have to do? And then everything comes when you need it. And so I was actually one spot ahead of a C.S. Lewis book for a little while. I was 26 and it was 27. I was like, now that I took a screenshot of it. I was like, that's pretty cool. And it was, again, it was a moment that it increased my faith and belief in my abilities that I can do whatever I put my mind to and use my willpower. That, so many things were possible, and it just opened up that faith even more. Um, whenever I saw that I made it on the bestsellers list.
And the reason why I brought that up is because we were talking before we came on the air. You were talking about being from a small town. And I believe that sometimes, and I used to have a small town mentality as well. Like I kind of, until I started going out and exploring life, I realized how closed-minded my mind was, and I didn't think that becoming an Amazon bestseller was a possibility. I didn't think a podcast or a radio show was a possibility. I didn't think giving speeches, whether virtually or physically, to crowds was a possibility because, after all, I came from this small town. I don't have a big name, so I just wanted you to share that moment with everybody to understand that although you come from a small town, there's still greatness inside of you. So that's what I wanted, why I wanted you to share that for the listeners that were out there listening to understand that just do it. I always
Yeah,
tell people, like Nike said, just do it,
yeah,
whatever it is, do it, do it. And like you said, as you do it, the right connections will begin to come into your life.
yeah. And a lot of it is what I realized is it's self-image. It's how you see yourself. It's like it doesn't matter where you're from. It really doesn't. It doesn't matter
Right.
what your name is. I mean, because since I came from a small town, my family's great, my community's great. They were all supportive. But like you said, it's like, this is what we do. And I was like, ah, I'm going to go to a bigger college in Missouri State. Springfield is a bigger town. Now I live in Kansas City, Missouri, which is a bigger town. So in a lot of ways, I've molded my own path and done my different thing, but I, I'm excited about it. And I felt
Right.
like, what, you can, and what kind of helped me believe this was my neighbor growing up pitched in the major leagues. He was a closer for
Okay.
the Blue Jays. And so I
Okay.
was like, well, if he can do that from a small
See,
town, then maybe I can
yeah.
do something as well, you know? So that kind of like having him there, like seeing him on TV when I was 8 years old, I'm like, my next door neighbor is pitching in the World Series right now in a town of 800 people.
Wow.
Yeah. Why can't I do something cool like that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what are some you talked about you guys have we're gonna take basketball with the life skills and intertwine those. What are some other projects you have coming up?
I'm a big believer in personal growth and changing the workplace through personal growth. So, um, you know, there's some things that I'm putting together that I've studied that I've learned that increase productivity at work because they increase camaraderie at work. They they
Oh,
it's more about connecting with people, and it's not so much about what you're doing per se. It's more about uh, making work more flexible, making work more of your passion. Because I heard it this way, like um, hard work um, and plus desire equals like your passion for what you're doing. But hard work and things you don't want to do, that's stress. So a lot, and think about this: 85% of people are not fulfilled in their job. That's why we're all stressed out.
yes.
That's why we're all stressed out because
Yes.
5 out of 6 people are doing something they don't want to do.
Right.
That's a lot of people. That's
That
a
is a
lot
lot of
of people,
people.
you know? And that's why everybody's so stressed because there's something that they probably really want to do that's inside of them that they know, but there's fear and they don't know where the money's going to come from, or they feel like they've been there for 20 years and that's all they're supposed to be doing. But the reality of it is like you hate doing it. Like over time, figure out how you're gonna supplement it, and then go do what you feel like you're supposed to do.
Anthony Baker Jr. is the CEO of a nonprofit community organization called Helping the Homeless. As an organization, they are committed to changing lives and making others smile. In addition to providing hands-on services for the homeless community all over Philadelphia, they also have a Big Brothers mentoring program where participating youth are taught the value of giving back to their community. To learn more about the organization, call 215-487-8589 or email them at hthphilly@gmail.com. I like what you said there, because some people say just quit, but I like what you said. You were like, figure out how to supplement it and then go from there. Develop your plan, your strategy, and then make a move.
Yeah.
So, got a question for you as well with that. How did you know, or at what point did you know that you wanted to be more than a teacher? Now, you're a being a teacher is something that's great. You are shaping and molding the future, well, the present, basically, but for our future as well. But how did you know, like, what was it that burned inside of you to tell you, I got to be doing more than this?
I'm a big believer in quieting my mind and, really trying to listen to intuition. And sometimes I'll get like cool messages that I know are not from me. And one of them was teach to the masses, not just the classes. And I was like, and chills like went down. I just got chills saying it again. And I was like, and when something like scares me and excites me at the same time, I know like that's like the right direction to go. I don't know if you've ever felt that, but it's like, oh,
Yeah.
that's exciting. Like, that's out of my comfort zone at the same. But I was like, okay, that's where I got to go. You know, eventually, and then eventually, it's like if you take one small step towards it, that's the faith, and then things just start happening like that. Like and it's funny. People think like, well, what do you mean they just start happening? And until you actually like walk through it, it's undescribable. You can't even explain it, really, quite honestly.
Absolutely. Like you said, and I think that that's the faith side of it, because sometimes I've been stuck in situations like this where I like to know A through Z before I make a move. Well, that's not how faith or purpose works,
Right. Yeah.
because, sometimes I like to move A, B, C, D, but faith will say go A to Q to R, back to B to D to, it's sometimes it seems as if it's all over the place, but it ends up all working together. Now, you talked about faith. How important is faith in your own personal life, in your own personal journey?
Well, even and let me back up first before this, but even
Good.
before I was able to get the faith, I had to understand what forgiveness was.
Mm,
Because without forgiveness, faith just gets deflected because there's no open space for it. And to me, forgiveness is this: it's freeing yourself from the things that are holding you back. And I like the internal angst, the internal tension that's keeping you from allowing yourself to walk into a space of faith. Because a lot of times I don't know, it could be something as simple as like somebody cuts you off in traffic, and you start, road rage, and then you feel like you're tense all day. It's like, but for me, it was forgiving my dad for what had happened. It's like trying to get to a space of how can I step forward without, feeling like I was abandoned or feeling like I was angry or, confused, overwhelmed. How do I let those feelings go? It's through forgiveness. You don't ever forget what happened, but you let it go and you don't, and it's not like you just allow people to walk over you either. That's not what forgiveness is either. Like you still hold up for yourself, that kind of thing. But you walk in more confident, knowing that nothing can hold you down. And then you can step into a place of faith.
And that was good because I'm glad you brought up the forgiveness aspect, because I think that sometimes that is one of the things that holds a lot of us back, even if we may be able to forgive others, forgiving ourselves for decisions that we have made that we feel we were above, or decisions that were beneath us. So I'm glad you hit that forgiveness aspect, because I believe that that's one of the major things that holds a lot of people back.
Yeah, we are so hard on ourselves, and I know I
Yeah,
have been in the past
yeah.
too. It's like, you know what, man? If you did the best you could do, and if you felt like you just tried your best, then it's okay if you didn't get everything on your to-do list done, or it's okay
Mm,
if things didn't work out how you initially hoped they would, but maybe they worked out how they were supposed to. You know what I mean? Like
mm,
maybe it was something that, okay, did you really want what you said you? And sometimes that's where
mm.
challenges come in too. You know what I mean? It's like it's almost like a test. Like, are you sure you really want this? Okay, well, let's go through this. Let's build a little resiliency and see if you really want it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's it right there. Do we really want what we say that we want? And are we willing to position ourselves to receive what we say we want? That's good. Now, looking at where we are, as a country, as a world right now, this is the what now moments. What are two, I guess, strategies you would give individuals for embracing the new norm? You talked about the new norm, embracing the new norm and being willing to move forward from here so that they can be successful.
I think it's asking yourself, what do you want out of life? What do you truly desire? And also what resonates with you? Because you could want something, but it might not be on the path that you're supposed to go. Because there's a lot of different avenues. But when you walk into a place of things that resonate, and you've been there, like things like just come easy to you. Things that come easy to you,
Hmm.
those are kind of your signs, like maybe I should be doing that. Maybe that's my path I should be going. Maybe I should explore that a little bit more. And things that are hard, things like you feel like you're like pounding your head against the wall, but you're not getting anywhere. You're working hard, but it seems like you're like on a hamster wheel, like you're just spinning. Maybe again, sometimes it's self-reflection, just like analyzing your life and seeing like, hey, what's flowing well, what's working, what is easy for me, what comes easy to me, what comes natural to me, and what is so stinking hard, but I can still keep trying to get it. So I think self-reflection is key here, you
Okay.
know. Uh, and then that allowing yourself to walk into a space of what resonates with you. Just going for it and see what happens.
Awesome. Now, before we go, I want you to give everybody your contact information as it relates to your social media platforms, your website, the name of your book, where they can purchase your book, the services you offer, as much information about you as possible.
Yeah, yeah. My best platform is on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. You can contact me all through those things. I'm also a certified thought coach, which means I can help people understand the origins of the thoughts because, Cliff, we have 70,000 thoughts a day. And think about this, 90% of those thoughts are repeated daily. So if you're thinking negative, you're repeating 90% of those thoughts a day. And then on top of that, negative thoughts are 40 to 70 times more powerful than positive. So how do we flip that? Not only thinking positively, but feeling positively about that. And then so we can be in a place where we can go and act positively, from that. You know what I mean? So as a certified thought coach, I work with people to help them, pull out those weeds of negativity, get them by the root, so you can open a place where you can fill in the positivity to allow that to grow. Kind of using like the garden mentality or the garden, similar. Yeah, but yeah. So actually, I'm on all the social media platforms right now. Is where And my book is on Amazon. It's Shattered by Suicide, Renewed by Resilience: How to Move Forward After Being Left Behind. And it's also ebook, and it's also on Audible as an audio.
Awesome. Now, we didn't get to talk. Let's talk about this thought thing real quick because that is so powerful, though. That is really so powerful about, I just had this conversation with somebody today about finding effective ways, to deal with those negative thoughts that we constantly think, that are constantly nagging us, whether they come from us internally or externally as well, and how to replace those thoughts. So that's great that you brought all of that stuff up. But what would you say to a person? How do they know that they need to reach out to a thought coach?
I would ask them, are they getting the results that they want? Are they feeling fulfilled? What are the results that they are getting? Do they, and even are they getting closer to the results that they want? Do they see at least a growth or a trajectory to where they're at least getting there? And if they're not getting the fulfillment in every area of life, we're talking, health, spirituality, we're talking, relationships, we're talking professional life, those pillars. If you can look at any of those 4 pillars and like, hey, you know what? I'm not getting what I want in this area of my life. That's kind of where you kind of can see, okay, maybe I could use some help pulling out those, because a lot of those thoughts are implanted from other things. They're not even our own thoughts. They're other people's thoughts that are projected onto us.
I totally agree. That is awesome. So I apologize, my niece. She's trying to get into the room. But listen, I want to thank you for joining us on tonight, Jason. Thank you for sharing so freely with our listening audience. We appreciate you and value what you are doing to change this world and help create a better world for each and every one of us. But I want to ask you one more question before we go off the air. And that question is, if everybody was to forget everything that you said on tonight, what would be one thing that you would want them to take away from this conversation?
Right now with the pandemic, I say, give life a chance to get better. I know a lot of people are going through some hard times right now, but for every negative thing, there's an equal and opposite positive thing. So, sometimes you just gotta bear down, and you gotta face it, and you gotta, just let things play out and believe that things will get better. So that's where that positive optimism comes. Doesn't mean you have to be happy all the time. Doesn't mean you have to go around pretend like everything's okay, but just believe that, hey, you know what? Today was tough, but tomorrow has a chance to get better, and the next day has a chance to get even better after that. So that would be the main takeaway, I would say. If I could have, anybody, take something away from this, it would be to, just allow things to get better, give it a chance.
Awesome. Again, I thank you for joining us on tonight. I thank each and every one of you for listening to the podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, I want you to text me at 302-648-5544. And what I want you to text me is positive thoughts. Positive thoughts. Text positive thoughts to that number just to let me know you enjoyed the podcast. Also, I want you to visit Jason's website, connect with him on social media platforms, and invest in your now to produce the future that you desire, the future that's connected to your purpose, by purchasing a copy of his book. As I always say, guys, create a great day, walk with purpose, and by all means, execute your vision. Peace. Many people define stagnation as not producing or being at a standstill. I get it. However, I would like to add a little weight to the definition and say that I may be producing, I may be moving. However, my production and my movements are disrespectful to the purpose that's inside of me, to the greatness that's inside of me. If that's going on, that's stagnation as well. And that's okay. Guess why? Because I have developed a tool. I wrote a book called From Stagnation to Transformation. And that book was written specifically for individuals that feel stuck, that feel lost, that feel like they're just wandering in the wilderness, that feel like I need something is just missing. It's okay. I want you to head over to www.cliftonpettyjohn.com/transformation. There you're going to find a complimentary portion of the book. That's right. A complimentary portion of the book. I want you to read that portion. After that, it's going to ignite such a fire inside of you that you're going to want to purchase your personal copy of From Stagnation to Transformation. So I want you to do that as well. Why? Because I believe that it'll give you a 21-day jump start to fulfilling or re-identifying purpose in whatever core area you find yourself stagnant in. So again, visit www.cliftonpettyjohn.com/transformation.